are going to continue in Parashat Shelach. I'm going to jump one page from where we stopped, mainly because if you remember, we did a little preparation with what the Arizal says in Shar HaKavanot. I don't think you're going to benefit anything from this whole page for somebody who's not very learned in the structure of the Sfirot in the world above. When it comes to more details, I don't think you're going to benefit from that. I think will be a little bit of our waste of time in this class, rather to do something more practical. But just know that we're skipping one page. We were learning in Kuf Nun Vav Amud Bet, 156b. We're going to jump to 157a, just one paragraph. Just to remind you, we're in Parashat Shelach, where we're talking about the spies that went to Eretz Israel, talked Lashon Hara about Eretz Israel, and therefore were punished to stay in the desert for 40 years. And up until today, we're still suffering from that Lashon Hara about Eretz Israel, which is in itself a huge thing to take, because many people talk Lashon Hara about Eretz Israel, especially now that the topic of making Aliyah for the Jews that are in the diaspora, people throw all sorts of Lashon Hara about Eretz Israel, which is horrible to hear, and it's Lashon Hara about Eretz Israel. So even if you don't agree with the approach that Jews have to come to Israel, don't talk Lashon Hara about Eretz Israel. People say it's a horrible place, it's hard to live, no jobs, dangerous, all sorts of things. You gotta be very careful, because the Eretz Israel, in Hebrew it says, Mabat Ayno Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the pupil of the eye of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Don't be very careful when you're slandering the land of Israel. We were talking specifically not on the spies, but what's going on at night. We gave a little introduction, Kabbalistically, what happens at night in the structure of the Sfirot. But then we started explaining how at night, since the judgments come down to the world, the Zeir Anpin, which is called sun, is diminishing and diminishing and diminishing. So by default, physically, we see the sun, so to say, diminishing. For the human mind, we see the sun just falls down. But really, it's settling, yeah. But really, it's because something's happening in the spiritual world, that the Zeir Anpin, which is called Shemesh, a sun. Zeir Anpin, I told you, it's a name of one of the Partsufim in the world of Atzilut, which is a group of Sfirot. So it's Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. This is Zeir Anpin. Zeir means small, Anpin means face. So that's called sun. Since the Zeir Anpin is losing its power, then by default, the physical sun is also losing power. For us, it looks like it settles, or what we call in Hebrew, lishkoa, but really the sun is diminishing. As a result, the judgments are being stronger throughout the night. So therefore, we explained that there's some type of legal binding document that is written in Shamayim, so to say, to give out permission to the mashchitim, to these angels, to come down and create havoc in the world. Really, who do they go after? They go after the wicked people. That's where they were created. But unfortunately, they also can harm anything that's on the way. We compared it to the riots in America right now. So you have people who are going out to the streets and they're looting, breaking, demolishing, stealing with no concern if who owns the store, if there is a financial loss. They don't care. They just go to in quotations, I'm saying, do their job. Same idea. These angels, they come down to the world to punish the wicked people, but also somebody who's not wicked can suffer from that. And then we elaborated on why we say Kriyat Shema at night, and a verse, to nullify them, and so forth. Now, we're going to skip a page, and this is again in the middle of the page of Kuf Nun Zayin Amud Aleph, 157a, and we're going to continue. It says, Tachazi, come and see. Moshe Rabbeinu, of course, he didn't know at the time when he sent the spies that he's not going in. If you're looking at the order of things happening in the Torah, and don't follow the Torah, because the Torah doesn't go in order. En mukdamu ve'meuchar b'Torah. There's no specific order in the Torah. You can jump 40 years ahead, then go back. So at the time when Moshe Rabbeinu sent the spies, he didn't know that he's not going to go into Eretz Israel. He didn't know that there's going to be the whole point when he hit the rock and not talk to it and so forth. Lav hachi, he didn't know so. Ela yada. Some say he didn't know at the time he's not going to Eretz Israel, and some say no, he actually knew that he's not going to go into Eretz Israel. V'hava ba'ile minda mina ad de la istalak. Therefore, he wanted to know what's going to happen in the world before he's going to leave this world. V'shilach le'ilen me'alelei. Therefore, he sent the spies. So if we're going by the fact that he didn't know if he's going in or not, but he wanted to know what's going to be the so to say, the history or the future of the world after he leaves the world. So he sent the spies into Eretz Israel. Kevan, because de la etivu mila kidkayot, since they didn't come back with the right news. They came back and said, no, it's not a good land for us to try to conquer. La shalach zimna achara, so he didn't send again more spies, because he knew that the land is good, but technically once they came back with the bad information, one can say, why didn't he send another group of spies? But he said, no, they came back already and gave the wrong message. I'm not going to bother to send new spies. Till when? Till the Kadosh Baruch Hu showed him the entire land of Israel. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have to go there. He didn't need a drone. He didn't need a satellite. Kadosh Baruch Hu has many ways to show prophets whatever he wants. And Moshe Rabbeinu was revealed everything in the land of Israel. How did he do it? By revealing to Moshe Rabbeinu the hidden light that is called Or HaGanuz. So Moshe Rabbeinu really didn't have to go into the land of Israel or send spies or whatever it is. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, you want to see what's going on there? I'll show you, no problem. And he revealed to him the Or HaGanuz, and Moshe Rabbeinu saw everything that's going on in Israel. But since the Or HaGanuz, the hidden light, was revealed to Moshe Rabbeinu, then Moshe Rabbeinu saw the entire future of the world till the end of days. And there's a verse in the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu goes up on the mountain, and Hashem shows him Ad Hayam Ha'acharon, till the last ocean. Our sages say, Al Tikre Yam, don't call it Yam, ocean, Kal Eze Yom, call it day. So Moshe Rabbeinu, so to say, went up spiritually in his spiritual level, and Hashem revealed to him everything till the last day of the world, meaning till the last day, till Mashiach comes. As it says, Shebo ro'eh ha'adam misof ha'olam v'ad sofo. Kadosh Baruch Hu showed him everything, every moment, every person, every generation, from that time till the end. As it says in the book of Dvarim, this you can find in chapter 32, Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe, Hashem spoke to Moshe, Aleh el har ha'avarim, go to Mount Ha'avarim, which is the Mount of Nevo, where he died, and the vision that he had was directly straight into Yericho, to Jericho. And Moshe Rabbeinu had a vision and he saw everything. Ur'eh et haaretz, come see the land. So first of all, Moshe Rabbeinu got a panoramic view of Eretz Israel, seeing everything. Just imagine this in a physical way, how he's seeing everything that's going on. And more than that, he sees the future. As it says, also in the book of Dvarim, chapter 34, Vayar'ehu Hashem et kol haaretz. Hashem showed him all the land. The commentary says that Gilad, that Adan showed him every little part of the entire land of Israel. More than that, Vela Ada B'Chodoi, not only that this is what the Kadosh Baruch Hu showed him, Ela Kol Inun de Zimnin Lemekam B'Chol Dara V'Dara. Kadosh Baruch Hu showed every generation of the nation of Israel how every generation is going to look. Just imagine what a vision Moshe Rabbeinu gets. Here I'm going to say it as a side note that Moshe Rabbeinu saw the generation that are going into the land of Israel. Then he saw the prophets. Then he saw the sages of the Mishnah. Then he saw the sages of the Gemara. Then he saw the Rishonim, the Achronim, all the great Mekubalim, all these generations. But when he saw our generation, he was most impressed. And Hashem says, from that you're impressed? I just showed you prophets. I showed you sages that the Ruach HaKodesh the divine inspiration they had, nobody has that. From this you're impressed? He says, yeah, because the prophets has a godly vision. The Tanaim, they had Bet HaMikdash. These guys, us, they have nothing. And look how they go to pray, how they believe in you, how they fulfill the mitzvot, how they have such emunah, belief, without seeing Bet HaMikdash, without great prophets. That's something to be impressed from. So as much as we feel this big, and as much as we are called a dwarf standing on the giant's shoulder, but the fact that we don't have Bet HaMikdash. I was yesterday in the Kotel HaMaravi. You feel Kedusha, unbelievable, but we don't have Bet HaMikdash. There's a toilet up there, big toilet. I know most people don't understand the joke, but nevertheless, we don't have Bet HaMikdash. We have a few great rabbis and tzaddikim, but we don't have Tanaim that they do miracles, and we still, with such strong faith, believe in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So we were able to impress Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moshe Rabbeinu was shown by the Kadosh Baruch Hu all the future forward. Kulhu achzele leMoshe. Everything was revealed to Moshe Rabbeinu. How? By the Or HaGanuz, by the concealed light. Ve'itmar, and it says, and we learned that in the Midrash. This can be found in Midrash Rabbah, if you want to look for it. Ve'hukmu Chavaria. Not only that the Midrash is explaining it in depth, also we were explaining it by the rest of the students of Moshe Rabbeinu, of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that Moshe Rabbeinu had a free pass and he saw all the future forward. Now he continues, he says, Kevan the Sharei Moshe lemishlach, since Moshe already started by sending the spies, Ma Amarlon, what did he tell them? Hayesh ba'etz. Is there a tree in the land of Israel? This is the actual text in the Torah. You can look in the parasha. But what kind of question is that? What are you asking if there's a tree there? Why? What is he asking if there's a tree? Ask me, what's the best way to conquer the land? Or how many people, how big their camps are? Is there a tree there? Okay. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu, we just learned that saw all the generations forward and a panoramic view of the land of Israel. You couldn't see if there's a tree there? That you have to send 10 men, 12, but 10 spies that came in to ask if there's a tree? You just saw everything. Ela, rather, lekama nyema mila. Rather, it says this question will be revealed as we go in this ma'amar, specifically in one page. But he says as follows, Aval hacha, here he just reveals the word etz. Etz means a tree, meaning, Hachi amar Moshe, that's how Moshe Rabbeinu says, Im yesh ba'etz, if there's a tree there, meaning, Ha yedana da'ana eo letaman. Then I will know if I go into the land of Israel or not. If there's a tree in Israel, I know if I'm going in there or not. For whatever reason, Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to know if he's going in or not. My etz, what is this tree that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to know? Da ilana dechaye. This is Etz HaChaim, the tree of life. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't care if it's a pomegranate tree or a orange tree. He wanted to see if the tree of life is there. V'taman, and he says, and over there, V'taman lo hava ela began eden de'ara. But he didn't find this tree of life in the land of Israel, only in Gan Eden, but that is on this land. Which means, in other words, that Gan Eden is on this land where we are, you just couldn't see it. And that's the reality. That's what we know from other places in the Zohar, that Gan Eden is really here. When it says that Adam HaRishon was thrown out of Gan Eden, and later on when Cain killed Hevel, he was thrown out of the land that is called Eretz. They weren't thrown from a little garden outside. We're going to learn that. I told you that we're going to learn about this civilization, we'll call it now, that lives under the ground. Adam HaRishon was kicked into the 7th level in the land, inside the globe, inside Earth. There are 7 levels. The same way there are 7 firmaments, there are 7 levels inside the ground, in the planet, so to say. The planet, the ball. So Adam HaRishon was kicked all the way down. Then he couldn't take this punishment, so he came out to a level that is called Eretz. That's why it says also on Cain that was kicked there, Na v'nad ba'aretz. He wasn't on top of the surface of the planet, he was in the surface. And we'll talk about it, what the Zohar says. Because Rashi says, and the Zohar and many others, that Adam HaRishon, for 130 years, he was under the ground. And while he was under the ground for 130 years, he mated with demons, and he created a whole civilization that up until today, they live under the ground. You can call it aliens, ETs, whatever you want to call them. It's irrelevant for this point right now. We're going to talk about it in later classes. But Gan Eden, when it says that Adam HaRishon was kicked out of Gan Eden, then Hashem placed their angels in the gate, where it says that the angels were holding the upside down sword, La tacherev mitapechet, and basically what he did in simple words, that he made Gan Eden invisible. So it's here in front of us, we just don't know exactly where. It can be right in front of us, but there's some type of a force that makes it disappear. Now we don't know exactly where, but Moshe Rabbeinu was looking for that tree. So he told the spies, is there a tree there? Did you see the tree? So now he wanted to know, where's this tree of life? He couldn't see it. Why? He says, let's go back a sentence, V'taman lahava ela began eden ara. This tree was not in the land of Israel because it was in Gan Eden. That is on the land. Says Moshe, Amar, Im yesh ba'etz, if there is a tree there, da anna e'ol etaman. If there is a tree there, then I know that I'm going in to the land of Israel. Ve'ilav, if there isn't a tree, lav anna yachil emel, then I can't come into the land of Israel. So Moshe Rabbeinu didn't care how to conquer, what's the population. He wanted to know if he's going in or not. If you see the tree of life, I'm going in. If there's no tree of life, I'm not going in. Now, we're going to skip another part, short one, again, because the Arizal, all these ma'amarim were explained by the Arizal, and what I said in the previous class in Shar Kavanot, but in the book Etz Chaim, the Arizal is explaining these ma'amarim, because we are talking here about the tree of life, which is very important for us to know what is the idea behind the tree of life. But the Arizal gives us, there's a whole quote here that can be found in the book of Etz Chaim, that the Arizal is explaining a little bit more spiritually the idea of the spies. Because one can argue, what's going on here? You know that every one of the spies, Rashei B'nai Israel, they were the heads of every tribe. These were like the elite of the elite, and they go and talk Lashon Hara? Something doesn't smell right. What does it mean? I mean, they didn't send regular guys. They sent the top of the top. I heard, I don't have the source for that, I just heard it. I don't know, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I'm trying to research. But there is a version that says that Amalekim, that Amalek that was in the land of Israel, they captured these spies and put a spell on them, so to say, that they were possessed, kind of, and that's why all these nonsense came out of their mouth. They really weren't acting upon themselves. But this is, I heard it, I didn't see a organized source for that. I know, I heard it from a reputable rabbi, but I don't have a source. I can't quote it right now, so I'm just saying it as a maybe, because it doesn't make sense that the spies would say such a thing. So I heard that there was Amalek in the land. Amalek is not a simple Amalek, is not some hoodlum. Amalek has a deal with the Samech Mem, with the Satan. They have power. You know that Amalek, what was the problem with Amalek? If you remember the story when Shmuel told Shaul HaMelech, Shmuel the prophet told Shaul HaMelech, don't bring all them back, kill them all. And Shaul brought all the animals back, and some of the women, and Shmuel told him, I told you to kill them all. Shaul didn't understand. Why should I kill all the animals? We'll sacrifice it. Shmuel told him, you don't understand. The Amalekim, they have the power of shape-shifting. So they can make them look like as if they're animals. And they can shape-shift, so they look like women. And now you pity them, but really, we have to kill them. That's why the order is to kill them all, you kill them all. So the Amalekim are very, very dangerous. I told you in the previous lecture that we'll do a lecture about Amalek, because Amalek is not some just evil nation. They made a pact, so to say, a deal with the Samech Mem, with the devil, and he gives them power. That's why they were able to be so fierce and so powerful. And like I told you, I don't have a solid source, but the Amalekim, according to that, had some possession over the spies who caused them to say such horrible things about the land of Israel. This I'm saying as a side note. We continue. It says, Amar Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia says as follows, because we were talking about previously about the Zeir Anpin. The Zeir Anpin, the 6 Sfirot that are together, are also called Etz Chaim, the tree of life. And it says as follows, Ktiv, Vayimtzeu ish mekoshesh etzim beyom HaShabbat. This has nothing to do right now with the spies. I'm just jumping now to a different place in the Torah, that if you remember, it says that they were going out of the camp on Shabbat and they found a man chopping wood on Shabbat. And if you remember, they took the man, they stoned him, they killed him in front of everybody. Remember that story? So, if you remember, we spoke about it in one of the previous classes, that this man was a very righteous man. That was the father of the 5 girls that are called Bnot Tzlafchad. This man was Tzlafchad. And there are a few opinions what exactly happened with him, but nevertheless, that was the man. Now, if he's such a righteous man, why is he chopping wood on Shabbat? So the excuse, so to say, is that he wanted to die b'mesirut nefesh to show everybody what happens if you desecrate Shabbat. Because he was publicly stoned to death. Why? Because the punishment for desecrating Shabbat is death. So he said, I will die as a Kiddush Hashem, as a sanctifying the name of Hashem. I'll show everybody that Hashem means business. And if you desecrate Shabbat, you will get stoned to death. This is one opinion that says. There is an opinion that says that he actually died by going into Israel without permission. There was a group of people that when they weren't allowed to go to Israel after the Meraglim, if you remember, this is going to be in our parasha, they weren't allowed to go into Israel. A group of people, they were called Ma'apilim. They said, nonsense, we're going in. They went in and the Amalekim destroyed them with no time. So some say he was one of these Ma'apilim. But nevertheless, this is the story about the man. He was chopping wood on Shabbat, and later on his daughters came when there was the dividing of the land, and they said, what about us? We want piece of the land. So that's the story. So it says as follows, Man etzim hacha. One of these trees that he's chopping, let's now jump out of the text. What is this trees that it's talking? Saying in other words, Ma sod inyan elu ha'etzim. Has to be some secret here. This man, if he's said in the Talmud and in the Midrash that he was a righteous man, why is he chopping wood on Shabbat? What's the secret of these trees? Man hu da. Who was this man that was chopping wood? Umaya chet'o. What was the sin according to the sod, according to the secret part of the Torah, not of the pshat that he was chopping wood, which you're not allowed to chop wood on Shabbat. So he answers, Ela dat tzlafchad. This man is tzlafchad. Ela hamekoshesh haya tzlafchad. Who is this man? This was this man that was called tzlafchad. V'hava dayek al ilanin hey minayhu rav al achara. And it says that he was very particular and focusing to know with which trees he was cutting, this righteous man. So it says, Hem soda zachar v'nekeva. This is the secret of the female and male part of the Sfirot, because this is the Zeir Anpin, called in the world above Etz Chaim. It's a tree of life. Wait a minute, so maybe this man was not chopping wood for a barbecue. Maybe something much greater happened there. More than that, so we know that the Zeir Anpin is called Etz Chaim, the tree of life. And the Malchut is called Etz Adat, the tree of knowledge. And this is, of course, in the world of Atzilut, not in other worlds. Because if you remember, we spoke in the previous class that it's all happening in the world of Atzilut. And later on, Rachel goes down to the world of Bria, because Rachel becomes the crown of the world of Bria, because she's positioned in the world of Atzilut. Okay? Eze mehem gadol min ha'acher. Now we want to know, what's greater, the tree of life or the tree of knowledge? If you go by the pshat, then of course the tree of life. Because Adam and Chava ate from the tree of knowledge, right? And then they, so to say, lost their level. One might say, oh, their eyes were open and they started seeing everything. Wrong. it was the other way around. They lost their level. Up until then, they saw with their vision, like prophets. Now they had to start seeing with eyes. But according to the Pshat, the Netz Hadat is less than Etz HaChaim, because Hashem says, oh, if you're going to eat from the tree of life, that's it. You're going to live forever, so I'm kicking you out of Gan Eden. So which one of the trees is more powerful, or more to say greater? כלומר, למי כדאי יותר לעבוד ולעשות רצונו? Who is more worthy to do the wish and the desire, כדי להוציא ממנו תועלת יותר? What should I focus more on my energy, on the tree of life or the tree of knowledge? ולה חשש ליקרא דמרא, and not only that I'm not going to chas v'shalom go against the kavod, the honor of Hashem. Why? כי זה פגם גדול. Go against Hashem, this is one of the biggest damages a person can do in the spiritual world. How do I do a damage in the world above? להפריד בין זכר ונקבה, when I make a separation in the world above, which means to separate the sfirot. For us, it's very hard to understand these things. If the Torah tells me, for example, don't steal, I can say, you know what, makes sense. The Torah tells me don't kill, makes sense. But when Torah tells me don't mix wool and linen, can you find any reason behind it? Obviously, when the Torah tells me such a thing, in the spiritual world, I will do some type of a mixture. If you remember one class, I don't want to elaborate on that, but if you remember when we learned about the colors of the sfirot, then we learned that Gvura is red, Chesed is white, and we learned from that that's one of the many reasons why we don't mix meat and dairy. Because the meat is red, the dairy is white, the root of meat comes from Gvura, the root of dairy comes from Chesed, and when we mix the meat and dairy, then I mix the Chesed and the Gvura in a very irresponsible way. So it causes a great damage in the world above. So the Torah tells me, don't eat meat and dairy. And if you remember, we learned more in depth about that. But the Torah sometimes says things that don't make sense. Why is the Torah telling me that? Because obviously my action in the world below creates an action in the world above, and I create some type of a damage. The damage can either be mixing something in the inappropriate way, or not at the right time. Like chas v'shalom, a man and a woman that they come together when it's not the right time. That's a great sin. When they come together when it's the right time, one of the greatest mitzvot ever. But when they come together not in the right time, the biggest sin. What's the difference? It's 1 day difference. It can be an hour difference. But it's not the right time. And on the other hand, I can do a separation. I told you numerous times, when we make a separation in the world below, we're making a separation in the world above. So now I have to be very careful, where am I directing my energy? One more paragraph and we're done. Ve'achlef Shabbat leShabbat. Now, we have two types of Shabbatot. He says here, when I switch the two Shabbatot, one Shabbat is called Zeir Anpin, and Leil Shabbat, the eve of Shabbat, is called the Malchut. Excuse me. Saying in other words, Shehe'ela et ma'alat hanukba laducha. Sometimes the female has to be, I'm talking about spiritual, not in the physical. Sometimes the female, what is called nukba, has to be above. Sometimes the ducha, the male, has to be above. This is Kabbalistic terms. I'm not talking here right now physically. But if I mix them in the wrong way, then it causes a problem. Saying in other words, Hado dichtiv, as it says, Ki bechet'o met, because in his sin, you die, chas v'shalom. What does it mean, bechet'o met? When he sins, he dies. Bechet, separate the word. Bechet'o is written bet, chet, tet, aleph, vav, in his sin. But the Zohar says, no. Move the word chet to one side, and then you're left with the vav. Bechet, vav, met. What does that mean? Lefi shechata v'pagam ba'ot vav shel shem havaya. In some cases, when I do a sin, then I damage the letter vav of Yud Kei Vav Kei. If you pray from the Siddur that is called the Nosach Hari, the Rashash, you see that when you send Kriyat Shema Lamitah, we do a certain tikkun by fixing the 4 letters of Hashem. The letter Yud, then the letter Hey, then the letter Vav, then the letter Hey. So sometimes I do a certain sin and the damage goes on the letter Vav. So it says if I damage the letter Vav, what's the result? Death. There are 4 types of death, if you remember. There's stoning, burning. One of them is hereg, killing, death. And that, of course, comes when we desecrate Shabbat. Therefore, לפיכך, לפי שפגם בזעיר אנפין, if חס ושלום I do a specific sin, we're not going to elaborate on this right now, what are these sins? But if I can do a specific sin, that the damage goes on the Vav, and the Vav, the letter Vav of Yud Ke Vav Ke, which hits the Zeir Anpin. If you remember, we spoke last class that the Zeir Anpin is called also Vav Kavim, 6 lines. לכן הווה דנן סתים, דינו היה נעלם ממשה, then the result was concealed from Moshe Rabbeinu. He couldn't see. Moshe Rabbeinu is human like us. He also sinned. I mean, he was a great leader, but he's human. We sin, he sinned. All of our leaders sin. That's the difference in Judaism and many other faiths, that our leaders are human beings and they sin. And in many other faiths, their leaders never sin. They're pious and they're holy. So all our leaders have sinned and did Shuvah. Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech, but they're human. So Moshe Rabbeinu sinned. He didn't know where did he do the damage. So he was curious. Did I damage the tree of life? Did you see the tree over there? I want to know if I damaged it or not, so I can do tshuva. Not from being arrogant. He wasn't able to see the din, the judgment of his sin. Why? Because this thing comes in a very concealed way. And it's concealed and not revealed. It's a disgrace to the honor of Hashem to separate the Sfirot in the world above. And because of that, la itmar bitgalia. So the din, the judgment for his sin, was not revealed in an open way that he could see it. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu, avad yaker likaren, the Kadosh Baruch Hu did that in the honor of Moshe Rabbeinu. Can you imagine how disgraceful that would be to the leader, that everybody sees the din, the punishment? So with that, we're going to finish. But now we're left with a big question that we're going to talk about it tomorrow. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu so curious if they found the tree? Of course, we know he wanted to know what's his spiritual status. But how is that connected to Tzlofchad that was chopping wood? How is that? Tzlofchad can do anything to desecrate Shabbat. Why dafka with chopping wood? Obviously, there's some type of secret here that we need to learn from that, because Tzlofchad was a tzaddik. He didn't do it by mistake. Obviously, there's something much greater than that. More than that, what we want to learn from that is what's more powerful, not that I need it practically, but the tree of life or the tree of knowledge. We're going to learn, techev, very soon, that the 2 angels, the Samech Mem, who is the Satan, the devil, Samech Mem Aleph Lamed, and there's another angel, we try not to mention his name, we mention his acronym, Matat, Mem Tetet. How are they connected to those trees? Because that will teach us a lot of evil that comes down to the world. Why is there evil in the world? Why Hashem gives power to some of the angels? I mean, we know that Matat, he was Chanoch, Enoch, that went up to Shamayim. We know the whole story, we talked about it. But nevertheless, we're going to see next class how is that connected to the tree of life and the tree of knowledge and the Sfirot above. For now, what is important for us to take from this is a few things. Is first of all to understand that whatever I do in the world below has a huge effect in the world above. And my main concern is not to cause separation in the world above when it's not needed, and not to create unity in the world above when it's not the right time. How? But I have to follow the Torah. The Torah comes from the word in Hebrew, hora'ah, a guide. It's a guide. Here, this is the guide for the world. It's not some prehistoric book to put you under some type of limitation, and it's definitely not a book of history. It's a guide how to function in the world. Why? Because I can see. If Moshe Rabbeinu could not see the result of his action and he didn't know if he damaged the tree of life, then obviously we can know. So we have to go by the guide that is concealed from our eyes. רבי חנניה בן הקשה אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל, לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, הגדיל תורה ויעביר.